Hello, 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 Mosaic Souls. Hey, Mosaic Souls, this is Rachael Alexander, artist and Mosaic Soul mentor, aka spiritual teacher with flair. And today I want to be talking about why I quit my full-time job and my journey moving forward. So, this is gonna be basically story time, and I'm also gonna just kind of share some tips if this is something that you might be considering for yourself. First of all, as I always say, flow with what feels good and let go of what doesn't. Just because I quit my full-time job doesn't mean that you necessarily need to. And I want to kind of go into the why behind why I did it, as well as certain thought processes and internal guidance that kind of led me to quitting my job and moving forward towards creating a version of me that I prefer to experience. So I'm excited to talk about this because there was a little bit of fear to talk about this, and so anytime there's fear, I always like to dive into my fear and share, kind of document this process of me becoming the greatest version of myself. So the reason why I decided to quit my job, mainly the number one reason, is being in alignment with who I truly am and being in integrity with myself. So I quit my job back in October of 2018. My last day was September 30th of 2018 at my full-time job. And it wasn't a corporate job, it was actually a job kind of for the government. I worked as a marketing specialist, a marketing manager at a major university. And I actually enjoyed my job. So I'm not one of those people who was like, I hated every moment of it. It was just life sucking. Although there are moments that I definitely did feel like it was sucking the life out of me. I had some very interesting dreams and very interesting nudges from my soul in regards to coming into alignment with myself. But the first major reason was basically that I felt out of integrity with myself. I felt as if I was pretending every day. So we'd have these meetings, and I was managing different marketing campaigns and stuff like that, and we'd have to report on like what we were doing and kind of all this other stuff. But what I found within myself, because I've been expanding and I have such a higher state of consciousness, I felt I was pretending. I felt like I was putting on the role. Like, I know I'm playing the role of Rachel, right? Like, my soul is playing the role of Rachel, right? But for some reason, this role just no longer resonated. Like, I was playing the role of Rachel, the marketing specialist, and it didn't resonate for me anymore because I was pretending to be interested, and I no longer was really interested. I didn't really feel like I was making an impact, which kind of goes into the second reason why I decided to quit, which was I didn't feel like I could be my full creative self, and I didn't really feel like my input mattered so much, because it was kind of, when you have a government type of job, or really any type of job, but mostly a government type of job, you really have to deal with a lot of bureaucratic things. Things move a lot slower, and especially when you're dealing with a team of more than 10 people, you have to go through all these like checkpoints and all this stuff, and it was just kind of frustrating because I had come from being a freelance business owner into going into this full-time job, and it was very frustrating because my creative input wasn't as valued as if I was just working on stuff myself, right? So that was another thing. I felt like I wasn't really making an impact. So even though like our objective was to enroll people into their dreams and stuff, I didn't really believe in the product that I was marketing anymore. So like I said, I was a marketing specialist at a university, and at the time I didn't really believe in the whole university system. I'll link up a video of why I no longer really resonate, but I don't feel like there's any one path for anyone. There's billions of us on the planet, and how could I be like, oh, no one needs to go to university? I'm not that naive. I'm very fully aware that a lot of souls clearly came, including me. I went to the whole university and got my whole degree thing. Was what we signed up for and what we wanted to explore. So it's totally fine. But in that moment in time, being like behind the scenes as a person trying to enroll people into this dream of going to university in order to pursue their dreams, it no longer resonated for me to do that anymore. And then the third reason was I would find myself daydreaming about doing other things, or in my downtime I'd be like surfing the internet thinking about different aspects of my career that I could further be doing. So I'd be daydreaming about doing other things while I was at my job versus being excited. Now, don't get me wrong, I didn't hate my job. I loved doing like the marketing stuff and the creative stuff, but what felt out of alignment for me was because I'm fully aware that I'm a soul having experience, and I having a human experience, and I'm aware that everybody else is also a souls having human experiences. And because I'm aware, it just, the way that business is done in that setting just didn't resonate with me. It felt like we were pushing rather than allowing. We were pulling and like, you know, trying to manipulate and all this other stuff instead of allowing. And this is just the state of the world. I mean, I'm pretty sure that there are awakened companies out there. There are a few that I have in mind, but still it was feeling like this just schism between who I am and who I was pretending to be. And so the fourth reason that I quit my job, my full-time job, was that I didn't envision myself having any other person's job in the office. So you know how like back in the day when people would get jobs, they would aspire to climb the corporate ladder or aspire to one day have their boss's job. That wasn't me. I knew that going in. Like, so even as I got the job, it wasn't like the backstory of me getting the job was that it literally just kind of fell into my lap. Like, I had a recruiter. I had signed up for a recruiting agency probably like a year before they reached out to me, and I ended up going on these interviews and stuff, and it was just kind of like it landed in my lap. And I knew before I even took the job that I had the decision to take the job or not to take the job. But since I had never really had a full-time job that would implore some of my skills that I'd learned, like I went to school for music business. So because I had never really had a job that implored my skills, any of my skill sets, I wanted to just play on that playground. I kind of knew going into the job that it was going to be this kind of dating scene where I get to date the job to see if it was something that I would want to pursue further. I knew that, but in the back of my mind and in my heart, I knew that it wouldn't be something that I would want to pursue long term, because I always knew that, which brings me to like the sixth reason, but is that I always known that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I've always known that I wanted to work for myself. I've always known that I wanted to be an artist. I wanted to be a person who created things in the world and shared her gifts, and in return was, you know, handsomely compensated for that, right? So I knew in the back of my mind that this wasn't going to be the end stop. And also the people at my job, like my bosses and my supervisors, I actually felt kind of bad for them in one way, but I had immense respect and love and reverence for them in another. And the reason why I felt bad was because I'm an empath, and I can tell when people overly work themselves, and like my health coaching aspect of me started to come out, and I kind of wanted to help them get better, and I found myself kind of coaching them to make better decisions around their health. And I revered them because they were fierce women out there making things happen and doing what they love to do, you know, and really, you know, feeling as though that they were making a difference in other people's lives, which of course they were. But it was just kind of like this dichotomy where I knew that I didn't want to be them, and yet I still loved and had immense respect for them. So it was very interesting, but I knew that I didn't really want to aspire 10 years from now to do what they were doing. And the fifth reason is, which I've already kind of covered, which is that basically I always knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. Ever since I was little. It's the funny thing is, being an entrepreneur is actually really common in my family. Like, I come from a family of entrepreneurs on my mom's side. I have a lot of my uncles are all entrepreneurs. And I just knew that I wanted to be my own boss. I knew that I wanted to be able to work on my own creative projects and my own ideas, and not be kind of hunkered down into only working on other people's ideas. And So these are things that I kind of already knew, but like I said, I took the job because I wanted to have this kind of dating thing and to see, not only for the financial benefits, right, but I wanted to see what it would be like to work in this setting of having a full-time job. I was excited because actually the period before that, I was in this kind of massive lull, and I felt like I wasn't really moving forward. I didn't have any forward momentum, and I was excited at the prospect of actually being able to have a set schedule for some reason. My heart lit up at the excitement of getting up every day and going to work. So for the first month, 2 months, month and a half to 2 months, I was excited to actually have a set schedule. It was really exciting because before then, being an entrepreneur and just kind of in this lull where I wasn't really doing anything, I felt kind of dead-end, and I wasn't really expressing myself in a way. And so having the set schedule gave me kind of structure that I felt like I needed and that I wanted to recreate into my life. And so that was something that I knew that I was excited about, and actually have now incorporated into my life now. Not having a job, having set structure, actually for me and my soul for some reason makes me feel excited and enlivened in my life. So having some level of structure with a lot of free time. So like, I like having a morning routine, or I like doing certain rituals every day. It makes me feel alive. So I knew that that was something that I wanted to incorporate. And so having this job gave me the opportunity to create that structure in my life. And I've since created this level of structure in my own private life now that I don't have a job. And I noticed that I like having a morning routine, or I like doing certain rituals in my life because it makes me feel more productive. It makes me feel more enlivened. And this is part of my purpose. Part of my purpose is being creative. And so this brings me to the sixth reason why I decided to quit my job, is because I was really pondering what my purpose in life is. Now, I don't necessarily believe that we have a purpose in life per se, but I do believe that we have themes that we've come here to explore as souls having this human experience. And when I think of life purpose, I more so think of them as like vehicles of expression, right? So when I think of like one of the biggest themes that I've come here to explore, which I'll just share with you in this brief snippet, is one of the themes of many, but one of the major themes that I've come to explore is being able to, part of my purpose, I would say, is to help other people discover their purpose and to live their purpose in life, right? And so that shows up in many different ways, like brand strategy, health coaching, and things of that nature. But I knew that being a marketing specialist in this position, for some reason, it wouldn't really lead me to the ultimate kind of visions that I've had for my life. And so I knew that having this kind of this position was sort of a filler, if you will. It was like a stepping stone for me to become a greater version of myself. So it wasn't like the last stop on the ride of Rachael Alexander adventures, right? It was just kind of like a stop, and a pit stop, and then I was going to go on to other things. So I knew that was the case going into this job when I first started. So I was at the job for like 6 months, and I knew that I didn't really want to go further because it was something, my heart was just really calling me to vibrate higher, to elevate my consciousness, which I was really doing and have continued to do. I don't feel like I'll ever stop doing that. But I really felt like, on like a logical sense, it made logical sense, because at that moment in time I was kind of in a financial bind. I didn't have any like major finances coming in, and so having this job gave me not only the cushion to help me up level my level of belief system, but it also gave me a whole set of new skills of compassion for other people. I just experienced so many different things that I know my soul came here to explore through that job that I would not have experienced had I not had the job. So I'm actually very grateful for my job that I've now since left, because I've expanded into this different version of myself that I wouldn't have experienced had I not had that. So those are basically the 6 reasons why I decided to quit my full-time job. And my journey moving forward is I'm going to continue being an entrepreneur. Like I said, being an entrepreneur is something that I've always known that I wanted to do. That doesn't mean that I'll never ever have a job. I can't say what will happen. I'm on the playground called Earth, and this adventure, this little ride called Rachael Alexander, so who knows what pit stops I might be on. But I do have this inner knowing and this intention of being an entrepreneur and pursuing my passions in that way, so that this kind of theme and this life purpose that I'm exploring can blossom in its own way and blossom in the way that feels in alignment with me. And so that's why I quit my full-time job. And if you are considering this, always check with your inner being. Always check with your higher self. Sometimes, if you're at this point where you're just like, I hate my job, it's draining me. Sometimes just shifting your perception just so that it can take you to where you need to be, to where you can be comfortable quitting and, making those logical decisions like, where is my money going to come from? How am I going to eat? How am I going to pay my bills? All those normal human things, until you can start to feel comfortable in your own skin around that. I would say keep the job, right, until you feel comfortable, doing that. And check with your inner being, because there's always, your soul is always in support of any decision that you're here to make. You have free will as a human, but if you're feeling like, you want to pursue something other than having a job, just know that it may just be a pit stop, you know what I mean? And sometimes we often think that, quitting our jobs or leaving something means that you're a failure or you failed in life. And I don't personally subscribe to that reality. I don't believe in the idea of failure, because it's like when you came on the playground of Earth, right? We came on the playground of Earth. What the heck could you fail at? Like, how would you fail on the playground, right? Like, you fall and you scraped your knee. Like, that's not failure. Like, it's just another experience. You know what I mean? So I don't really pursue or believe in the idea of failure. And I know that this is just, that experience was so beautiful, and even just talking about it gets me excited and so much gratitude for it, because I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't have this level of consciousness had I not gone through those experiences. Because even like driving back and forth from my job, which was a trek in that of itself, is like 2 hours both ways back and forth, gave me all this time to like explore my spirituality in a way that I hadn't before, and gave me so much time to really contemplate and go within and really discover what it is I really want to be doing. So I hope that this has been helpful, just some of the reasons. And if I had to leave you with anything in this video, is always check with your inner being, always flow with what feels good and let go of what doesn't. And ask yourself, if you feel like you're in alignment, if you are in integrity with yourself and the work that you're doing in the world. And if you don't, you can always steer the ship in a different direction. You can always repaint your canvas. You can always rewrite the script of your life, because you are the creator of your reality. 100% of the time, you the one creating your reality. And so you can recreate it in whatever form feels good for you. So I hope that this resonated in some way, form, or fashion and was helpful. And if it was, definitely give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And share it with a friend if you feel like this might resonate with them. I just kind of want to share from like a higher consciousness point of view, because I'm a spiritual being, you're a spiritual being, and I felt like this usually isn't talked about. It's always kind of talked about as a very methodical 1, 2, 3. But I wanted to talk about it from an intuitive point of being and kind of sharing my kind of inner process, And I'm not going to like sugarcoat it. Like, when the week I decided to quit my job, I was scared shitless, okay? Like, I felt all this fear in my chest. But I knew that it was something that I wanted to do. I knew that I didn't feel like I was taking a leap. I think the fear came from the fear of survival, not really the fear of thriving. I knew that my dream already existed in a vibrational reality, but my human self hadn't quite gotten on board. And then it was like only like a couple days later after that did I turn in my letter of resignation and all that stuff. And it was after that, you know, I shed my tears because it was kind of like this shedding of skin, and I'm super emotional and in general, but you know, and they had like a welcome dinner, I mean the goodbye dinner, or goodbye brunch or whatever, and we had a goodbye lunch, and it was so beautiful, and I really don't regret any of that experience at all in my life. So anyways, I'm rambling. I hope you enjoyed this video. Peace, love, and light.